Today for Britpop TV, I'm going to be interviewing Tony Bramwell. Tony was originally school friends with George Harrison, Paul McCartney and John Lennon. Tony forged such a great relationship with the boys that he ended up working with them throughout their whole career. He worked alongside Brian Epstein for NEMS and also took control of Apple Corps Records. Tony's going to have many fascinating stories and we're really buzzing and excited to speak to him today. Originally you were friends with George Harrison?
Yeah, when we were kids, that big. We were mates. He was about 7 and I was about 5 or 6, 5. And we just became sort of mates. His mum was a friend of mine, of my mum's. We lived about half a mile apart, but Liverpool, outside the outskirts of Liverpool, it's a small place. And we were just used to play together as kids. Robin Hood and still got a scar in my neck from a stray arrow. And then when we started listening to music, we used to swap records and borrow records. I'd lend him my Buddy Holly's, he'd lend me his Chuck Berry's, things like that. And he got a job working for our local butcher, as cycling around on a bicycle with a big basket on the front, delivering the meat on some Saturdays mornings. So he'd do that and he'd pop round to my house and sometimes bring I had a guitar and he'd been having guitar lessons. He was about 11, 12 something. And he'd play guitar along to the records. And then he disappeared because he went to a different school. He went to the Institute, I went to Hilford Hay, which is a different school. So I didn't really see him for a while. But my next door neighbour, a couple of doors along, her boyfriend, and it was Pauline, her boyfriend was Jerry Marsden, and he had a group, Jerry and the Mars Bars, that became Jerry and the Pacemakers. So I used to go to the local village halls and clubs and ballrooms with him, carry his guitar in to get in free. And then he went off to Germany, and suddenly it was the director from Hamburg, this new group, the Beatles, playing. So I went to see them, and I was on the bus going to see them, and George was there with his guitar. Where you going? Playing tonight. Oh, can I carry a guitar to get in? And there he was a Beatle. And in this venue there was about 60 people there, maybe less, 40. But they were just great, They were dressed in cowboy boots and black leather and playing rock and roll. And they were just really amazing compared to most of the, apart from Jerry and the Pacemakers, most of the groups in Liverpool were a bit show busy. Or Rory Storm and the Hurricanes, everyone said they were great. They were like a show band, Well, the Searchers were a country and western group. They weren't Sweets for My Sweet. They were Johnny Cash numbers and things. But the Beatles were rock and roll. So I just arranged with George, any other gigs, I'll meet up and take your guitar to get in. Fine. And so they slowly started building an audience up, it's like within about a month or two, they were getting like a few hundred people sort of stomping away to the, and about that time John and Paul said that they can carry our guitars too.
Yeah.
So I sort of became, you call it a roadie now, but there was no such thing in those
general
days.
dog's body kind of.
No, it's just carrying guitars to get in free, which I did for a few years. Saw thousands of gigs Yeah. The Cavern and the Aintree Institute and the Tower Ballroom in New Brighton. Yeah, just any gig that was available around Merseyside, we did. And then Brian Epstein became the manager. And he said to me, because I just left school and I started working at the Ford, for the Ford Motor Company as an apprentice car designer. And Brian said, would I like to work for him and carry on what I was doing with the Beatles and work for him and help out in the office. So I sort of, yeah, okay. And he said if it doesn't work, he can manage one of the record shops. I thought that sounds pretty fair. Yeah.
His family had one, didn't they, in Liverpool?
Had several.
Yeah.
And furniture stores and white goods shops. So yeah, and then they got the record contract with EMI, and then it's all sorts of tickety-boo.
Yeah, I think when they came back from Hamburg, as you said, they were in the leathers, weren't they, in the cowboy boots, and I think sort of Brian sort of got them all kind of suited them.
It was
booted, didn't he?
The thing is, the leathers and the cowboy boots was great if you're established, but all those the good venues, like the ballrooms and the theatres, were run by London impresarios who expected a certain amount of professionalism, unless you're Gene Vincent or Richard, you know. So they just tidied up. Suits were slightly different suits. They weren't literally shiny suits like the Shadows were wearing, or the Fentones, or whoever the groups, English groups, bigger groups were at the time. But they looked smarter and tidier, and started getting bookings in ballrooms, in the Majestic ballrooms or the Locarno ballrooms, which were big, nice venues rather than sweaty, smelly cellars.
Not the Cavern.
And paid proper money rather than a few bob on the door.
So going back to Brian Epstein, when he offered you the full-time job, what did you actually have to do? What was your sort of roles to do then?
Well, during the day I'd go in the office and I don't know, just go through odd offers, go through the music papers to see what was going on, go through the offers of work for the Beatles, and the ones that looked like they might be worthwhile following through, pass them on to Brian. If the Beatles, or by once it all started happening, in '63 we had the Beatles, Billy J. Kramer and Jerry and the Pacemakers all touring at the same time, in the foremost.
Yeah.
So there'd be package tours to book, to book 30 days of hotels and travel arrangements and things like that.
Just going back to Billy J. Kramer, is that true that John Lennon told Billy to put the J in his name?
Yeah,
to give it a bit more of a...
He was Billy Kramer.
Yeah.
And John thought Billy J. Kramer sounded a bit...
Because he covered...
cooler.
Do you want to know a secret, didn't you?
Yeah, his first three songs were all were John and Paul songs.
Didn't some of the other bands that were on them feel they were getting a bit left behind when the Beatles took off? Didn't like Joe Marsden feel they were being a bit left out?
Well, they just didn't become as popular as the Beatles. The Beatles just became the biggest thing in the world.
Yeah.
There was only Charlie Chaplin and Mickey Mouse who were better known around the world than the Beatles. You could go to the tiniest African village and they know John, Paul, George and Ringo, Beatles. Charlie Chaplin and Mickey Mouse. So they might not know the Queen or whatever. But yeah, that's how big they became. It was just phenomenal. It was like unbelievable. Yeah, Jerry and the Pacemakers. Yeah, they were big. They had a big following. They were a success all over the world too. But they didn't have that same work ethic that the Beatles had. The Beatles had an unbelievable, they just never stopped. They didn't go home to Liverpool every night. They didn't, they worked every morning, noon, afternoon, night, travelling, working, recording, gigging, travelling, working, recording, gigging. They just never stopped. Most of the Liverpool groups sort of, they got homesick for Liverpool, and they didn't like London. They'd come down, go down to London to record Ready Steady Go, but they'd go back to Liverpool. They were offered the gig in Hamburg, and it was reasonably better money than they were capable of earning in Liverpool at the time. So
was that when they were the Silver Beatles?
Yeah, it was just Silver Beatles and then the Beatles. Yeah, they sort of became the Beatles in the Hamburg time. But they were getting paid there. Not a lot of money, but more than they would have been paid.
But I think that experience and all that work.
And it's a hard work, 8 hours a day playing solidly.
Yeah, because they do like 2 or 3 shows a day out there.
Yeah.
And I suppose that's when they came back, they were pretty much on fire, really, weren't they?
They were shit hot.
Yeah.
Yeah, with hundreds of songs, and not just covers of what was in the top 10.
Yeah, because Ringo was already quite successful in the Rory Storm and the Hurricanes, wasn't he, early on, so I think that was, he was always quite more well known at the time, wasn't he?
He was well known because he had his own little slot with Rory and the Hurricanes, and he was popular and hard working. Yeah. And prepared to be a full-time Beatle, which he did very well. Yeah, being a Beatle was hard work.
Yeah.
Wasn't like these people nowadays who make one album every 5 years and do half a dozen gigs in 5 years. They worked every day and night for 50 weeks and then had a week off for Christmas. Well, not even Christmas, and then started again. To record 3 albums a year, do 5 tours, a world tour, and make a movie, and all the other stuff, all in a year, every year.
Yeah, well, of course, A Hard Day's Night is often referred to as one of the first pop videos of its time, wasn't it, or full feature?
Well, it was long before pop. Yeah. I started doing the pop videos in 65.
When do you think that defining moment for you was, when you felt there was something really going to happen for them? Was there a sort of particular moment?
It was about this time of year in 1963. We'd done the Helen Shapiro tour, and we'd done the Chris Montez and Tommy Rowe tour, and we were on tour with Roy Orbison, and this Beatlemania thing was beginning to get really strong.
Yeah.
And From Me to You would just, Please Please Me just be number 1 or number 2, whatever, depending which chart you looked at.
Different charts, isn't it?
The album was number 1, Please Please Me album was number 1, and From Me to You came to number 1, so suddenly that's pretty good. In the first 3 months, 4 months of the year, to have 2 number 1 singles and a number 1 album and 3 sold out tours.
But back then they were very strong, weren't they, on just releasing their own material? Weren't they offered How Do You Do It?
They recorded How Do You Do It, but they didn't like it.
No.
So Jerry and the Pacemakers did it, and did it very well. It's a shame with Jerry because, apart from, he wrote some great songs. He wrote Don't Let the Sun Catch You Cry.
That's a brilliant song. I love
and
that.
Ferry Across the Mersey, but then just stopped. Yeah. again. He went into Jerry did go into cabaret and show business. You know, he was in the theatre in the West End for a long time.
Right.
In a musical. Yeah, but then you know, we just carried on working, and then in '65, it was a culmination of events that. By sometime in '65, yeah, the record releases all got sort of synchronised, so there'd be the international release date of things, which before hadn't been organised. You know, people in America or in France, they were just issuing tracks as they felt like, where and when. So we'd go and do television shows and promote them, different songs in different countries. But in '65 it became, you know, right, everyone's releasing I Feel Fine this week, or Help this week. And the Beatles physically couldn't go around and promote them all everywhere at the same time, around the country, around the world. Also at the same time, the Musicians' Union, because people like Gene Pitney, American artists, were coming over to England and just appearing on the Val Doonican show or Top of the Pops, using the backing track without using English musicians, and then buggering off back to the States without any work commitment. The Musicians' Union thought they were putting English musicians out of work, or not working, not giving them work. So they banned Americans coming over and just doing that. If they wanted to come over to England, they had to do gigs, and they had to have the Johnny Pearson Orchestra or someone back in the studio. And so in America, they did the same thing. They banned English people just going over to America and doing the Ed Sullivan Show or Shindig without actually using American musicians. So and then because of the international release date thing, it was. So we just had this idea: let's make our own little films and sell them, give them to the TV companies, and that will do. But then we made them, and then TV companies bought the films, and we were paying more, and you didn't have the expense of getting to America to do it and spending time in America. You just send them a film, and the money comes back. And so that's what we did forever. After that, just me. I produced them all, directed some, edited most of them, filmed some of them, right through till Something in the Way She Moves. Hundreds, well not hundreds, but about 50 odd little films.
The Hard Days.
But I also did them, they got so good we were doing them for other people. You know.
Right, yeah.
I made Cilla Black doing Alfie, and Cilla at the Savoy, a special TV special that won the Montreux Television Festival one year. I don't know, The Who, Moody Blues, The Animals, Small Faces, I don't know. I made hundreds of these little things.
So I know obviously quite a lot of songs, Beatles
Cream.
songs. Yeah, Cream, yeah. Is there any, I mean, people ask me what my favourite sort of Beatles song or album might be, and I find it very difficult because I like really all of them, but it depends what sort of mood I'm in, I feel, at the time. Is there any particular songs that stand out for you that are favourites that they've written?
Yeah, well, what you can hear now are still like the BBC sessions, because that's roughly what they sounded like, really. You know,
was that live at the BBC?
Yeah,
they did?
And some of the songs that they did in the old Black Leather days, and some of those. I'm very fond of Please Please Me, because it was the one that really took off. Most of Revolver. I still don't mind listening to. That's it really. I don't actually sit around listening to Beatles records all day long.
Yeah, I know. It's interesting to ask you, that's all.
And then when Brian died, we started Apple.
Yeah.
Initially I was just going to be Apple Films, but I also became head of promotion and assistant head of, Apple Records, which was all very jolly. We sold shed loads of Apple records and doing well, but there were other bits of Apple which were a bit...
Mary Hopkins as well, wasn't she?
Yeah, she sold millions of records. Billy Preston did well. James Taylor was doing well. But there were other bits of Apple which were run by charlatans and you know, and the Beatles were having their own personal things.
And by that time, a lot of things have changed, I guess, haven't they? So, yeah.
Yoko got involved, and the Beatles were having problems. And then Alan Klein became the head of the whole thing and sort of fired everybody from Apple apart from me because he couldn't get rid of me. You can't touch him. Yeah. So for a spell I was like the only person until I got bored, and then I just left. Yeah, because it was just boring.
When did you leave, Tony?
I left in 72, I think.
Right.
And I started a music company for films. And the first film I did was Live and Let Die.
Right.
So I asked Paul to do the music for that.
Yeah. Which
did rather well. I did a few other films.
It's been fun working on a Bond film.
Yeah.
Is that Roger Moore?
It was Roger Moore's first one. Well, I did the one before, On Her Majesty's Secret, with Lazenby, because I only was involved with that because my girlfriend was in it. And then I started the company with Broccoli and Saltzman to do the film music. And I did some other things, some Michael Caine films and Odds and Sods. And I produced the Leonard Cohen film Bird on a Wire, which Leonard Cohen had. I became Leonard's manager for a spell. But then I left them. I just didn't feel I was doing enough to film people. And I had a phone call from the head of Polydor Records. He asked me if I felt like doing some freelance promotion for them. Why not? And he said we just signed got these three acts. You could specialise in them. And he gave me the Osmonds, the New Seekers and Slade. And suddenly, within a few months there I am handling the biggest turnover acts in Britain, you know.
Yeah. It's so different working with those.
Yeah, but Slade were very Beatley in their way. Yeah. You know, the Osmonds were for kids and fun. The New Seekers were showbiz and fun. And they were making good pop records. So anyway, Polydor said, you can carry on doing independent stuff, but would you become our international director, because you do. So I did that as well. So I was still handling Paul's promotion and Ringo's promotion, and some of the Moody Blues and a few other people as well. even Cliff Richard for a spell. And then I got really involved in Polydor, so got involved with the A&R and people like sort of invented the Rubettes, because that record track was there, but there was no group.
Right.
It was actually recorded for Shawadi Wadi to do, but they turned it down, or their producer turned it down. So I just liked it. I kept getting radio play on this record.
Yeah.
And then eventually I got Top of the Pops on it, and then we needed a group to appear.
Right.
So we invented.
Ham's people for that.
So we invented the Rubettes. And
yeah.
dressed them up in white suits and caps, and had a pretty big hit record, and several follow-up hit records. And they were even bigger than they sold in the States as well. And Neil Sedaka, I did on his rebirth of, Troller Days Are Over, and
Solitaire.
Thingy in the Rain, Solitaire, and I don't know, all that. Did all that promotion. And the Jam, from the day, and Susie and the Banshees, and Jam 69, I did. I went punk first.
Yeah, you did, didn't you? So you've really covered a lot of genres and bands.
No, but I also had Springsteen as well. I did it.
Right.
I did his promotion right from the start because he was a mate, and I was managing Phil Spector for my Sins.
Oh, I bet that was an experience.
Yeah, it was an experience.
Yeah, we probably better leave that one.
No, he only tried to shoot me a few times. It was
hair raising.
Nah, it wasn't. It wasn't been to other people. I just used to laugh at it.
Yeah. And you are out on the road, aren't you, doing little talks?
I'm permanently out on the road doing talks all over the world. Wherever we are today. Birmingham.
In Birmingham, yeah. So.
I was in New York last week, and Spain the week before.
Busier than ever.
And I've got quite a few ones in Liverpool this year.
Those like Beatle conventions.
Yeah, it's the 50th anniversary of Apple and the White Album this year. So there's lots of events all over the world to celebrate those.
So if you get a chance to see Tony, definitely recommend it. It's going to be some great stories.
It's just good fun. I just chat away, show a few films and have a laugh, basically.
Yeah. Well, thanks very much for talking to us, Tony. It's been really interesting. Pleasure to meet you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.